Can you get your buttocks off my cunt?
Why should you be comfortable? My armor is rusting in your drool, and your breath is absolutely foul.
What do you expect? With all night rocking between my walls. Oh, God, my mouth is so dry.
No, stop!
In a time of legends and kingdoms, the heart of a dragon and the soul of a fallen knight unite against a dark destiny in DragonHeart. A knight named Bowen, who loses faith in chivalry after being betrayed by a young king and blaming a dragon's heart for the king's evil, becomes a dragon slayer. But when he meets Draco, the last dragon, they form an unexpected alliance and must save the entire kingdom from the evil king's rule. The central focus of the story is the relationship between Bowen and Draco, a knight seeking redemption and a dragon seeking salvation. Even though their friendship starts in a strange way, with Bowen almost killing all the dragons in the beginning of the movie to extinction,
I will not stop until I've rid the world of every last one of you.
they soon become besties after they meet. It doesn't showcase great writing, but it's still fun to watch their banter throughout the movie.
Never mind, just get rid of her!
Oh,
Eat her!
oh, please, yeah.
Aren't we squeamish you ate Sir Eglamour, hypocrite?
I merely chewed in self-defense, but I never swallowed.
Directed by Rob Cohen, the film is a light-hearted fantasy adventure. While the story is predictable and generic, the movie remains entertaining due to the great performances from the cast. We have Dennis Quaid as Sir Bowen, Sean Connery as the voice of Draco, David Thewlis as King Einan, Dina Meyer as Kara, Pete Postlethwaite as Brother Gilbert, Jason Isaacs as Lord Felton, and Julie Christie as Queen Aislinn. The special effects still hold up today, with the dragon's design and CGI being ahead of their time, created by none other than industrial light and magic. There weren't many good high fantasy movies in the 90s, but flaws and all, with a beautiful, epic musical score by Randy Edelman, DragonHeart is still a pretty good fantasy family movie.
I'm in big trouble, right?
Beneath the hidden nooks and crannies of a quaint old house, a family of tiny beings navigates a world of giants until their home is threatened and our adventure begins in The Borrowers. The story is about a family of tiny little people known as borrowers who live under the floorboards of a house owned by the Lender family. When the owner of their house dies and her crooked lawyer Potter
Horrible, isn't it?
steals the property with plans to demolish their home and build luxury apartments, the borrowers, with the help of a young boy named Pete Lender, must outwit the evil lawyer and save their beloved home. This fantasy family movie by director Peter Hewitt, loosely based on Mary Norton's book of the same name, leans into its cheesy and light-hearted nature with impressive special effects and set design.
Jeez.
There isn't much to say about the story and character development as it's simple and aimed at kids, but what the movie does right is John Goodman, a perfectly over-the-top villain who makes the movie better than it should be.
I don't care if it is short notice. I want this house flattened, and I want it flattened today.
Alongside Goodman, we have Jim Broadbent, Celia Imrie, Mark Williams, Hugh Laurie, Flora Newbegin, Bradley Pierce, and Tom Felton.
Squished. Might get squished.
Though small in size, the borrowers' adventures are wonderfully grand, a little crazy, pure entertainment, and always a delight to watch.
And because this is England, Orlando would therefore seem destined to have his portrait on the wall and his name in the history books. But when he, that is, I, came into the world, he was looking for something else. Surely when Orlando was born, it wasn't privilege he sought, but company.
Through the corridors of time as the sands of centuries flow, a promise of eternal life is granted. leading one soul to witness the changing tides of identity and the profound solitude in Orlando. After a young nobleman named Orlando is commanded by Queen Elizabeth,
"Do not fade. Do not wither. Do not grow old."
he is granted eternal life. Orlando then experiences life across multiple centuries, transitioning from male to female without aging while struggling to find love and their place in the world. Based on Virginia Woolf's gender-bending novel Orlando: A Biography, director Sally Potter captures its poetic and introspective nature, exploring gender and identity with a top-notch performance from Tilda Swinton.
I think I'm going to faint.
The narrative, spanning over 400 years, tells the story with style and a bit of dark humor. As a man, Orlando enjoyed privilege and status, but when he became a woman, reality hit.
1, you are legally dead and therefore cannot hold any property whatsoever.
Ah. Fine.
2, you are now a female.
Which amounts to much the same thing.
Both the film and the novel were ahead of their time, challenging the social construction of gender roles with satirical commentary that remains relevant today. The film may not be everyone's cup of tea, but Tilda Swinton's performance alone makes it worth watching. And so, in the quiet of eternity, Orlando found solace in the simple truth. No need to hurry, no need to sparkle, no need to be anybody but oneself. Haunted by loss and driven by curiosity, a photographer's quest for the truth reveals a hidden world as close as the beat of a heart, where fairies dance on the edge of reality in photographing fairies. Charles Castle, a photographer turned skeptic and cynic after the tragic death of his wife, stumbles upon photographs that supposedly capture real fairies. Intrigued and desperate for answers, he travels to a remote English village to uncover the truth behind them. Inspired by true events and adapted from the book of the same name, this film is a slow-burn fantasy thriller starring Toby Stephens as a grieving man obsessed with proving the existence of fairies, alongside Ben Kingsley in a supporting role.
Can't capture God with a camera.
It's not God I'm looking for.
It's not proof you need. It's faith.
This is one of those movies you can't judge by its cover. It's not a Disney fairy tale, but a dark, slow story where the mystery of fairies creates psychological tension over what's real and what's imagined, questioning whether it's just Castle's coping mechanism or if the fairies are actually real, resulting in a great payoff at the ending. Photographing Fairies is an underrated fantasy thriller with a great cast and stylish visuals that doesn't get the praise it deserves.
I've never skipped before.
Well, he's impressed. Cheeky little beggar. Look at him.
What about him?
Well, I can't think why, but he's decided to make friends with thee.
He has. I've never had any friends.
That I believe.
Please, show me the way in.
Behind the wind-swept moors and within the walls of a lonely manor, the secrets of a hidden garden awaken the dormant spirits of those who dare to enter in the secret garden. After a young girl named Mary is orphaned when her parents are killed in an earthquake in India, she is sent back to England to live with her reclusive uncle in a secluded mansion on the Yorkshire moors. Lonely and unhappy, Mary discovers a neglected garden on the estate and begins to explore its secrets. Based on the novel of the same name by Frances Hodgson Burnett, the film presents a touching coming-of-age tale about the magic of friendship, love, hope, and the healing power of a hidden garden. The film's narrative is like a fairy tale, but its magic and fantasy elements are subtle, leaning more into magical realism as Mary believes the garden holds healing powers for her sick cousin Colin, and her friend Dickon appears to possess the ability to communicate with animals. The story is told through the children's eyes and their belief in magic, leaving it to viewers to decide whether the magic is real. In the hands of director Agnieszka Holland, the film beautifully contrasts its dark and gothic undertones with scenes of breathtaking beauty, symbolizing Mary's own blossoming transformation within herself and the magical garden. We have Kate Maberly portraying Mary, Maggie Smith as Mrs. Medlock, John Lynch as Lord Archibald Craven, Hayden Prowse playing Colin, Andrew Knott as Dickon, Laura Crossley as Martha, and a cameo appearance by Irene Jacob. The whole world is a garden, and in tending to its hidden corners, the seeds of hope, friendship, and love blossom into something truly magical.
Liam had seen a selkie, a creature that's half human and half beast. Old stories told of such creatures luring ships onto the rocks and pulling sailors down into the drink. But all Liam knew was he'd never seen a woman so lovely in all his life.
As the sea channels its wrath and the waves rock the core of Earth itself, the Irish tale of Roan Inish comes to life. The story centers on Fiona, a young girl sent to live with her welcoming grandparents near the island of Roan Inish following her mother's death. What remains is the discovery of a mystery that goes unseen but is felt in the bones, the disappearance of her brother Jamie, an infant who was swept up by the tide and thrown into the ocean. Based on the novel by Rosalie K. Fry and directed by John Sayles, the movie has its own eccentric appeal. It is one of the few whose aesthetic cannot be expressed but is deeply felt. The movie is an escape from traditional folk-focused films. It's more about the mystery of whether Fiona's brother is still alive, sailing the ocean in his little cradle protected by the Selkies. And it doesn't sacrifice either accuracy or dramaticism, but strikes a good balance. The film is about family and the oral tradition of storytelling.
It was a seal that brought me here, he told them. I was sinking under, destroyed by the effort of keeping my head above the swell. And a body, warm body, came under me and lifted me up.
As Fiona's belief in the story about Selkies leads her to think her brother could still be alive and being cared for by the Selkies. It is a strange portraiture of a depowered adventure or suspense without the thrill of it, an elusive style that escapes expression as soon as you have the words to express it. The Irish score that often accompanies the pulsing visuals adds a layer of dreadful anticipation to scenes that would have otherwise remained incomplete as a moon without a planet to orbit. The unafraid character of Fiona shows that the spring of life is not ruled by age, for the fountain of youth resides in the youthful waters, where the flower of wisdom remains ungathered, braving through vitality where experience goes without.
What's that purple tree? I never saw that.
Well, let's take a look. Think you can get there in 8 seconds?
8 seconds. Over there. Yeah, I just need a little incentive. I can fly.
Is it till death do us part, or even if death do us part? For in the valley of intangible existence, all that was once lost is found, as it is only in heaven that you can meet the dead. Chris and Anne are the quintessential soulmates. They meet on a perfect mountainside lake somewhere near Switzerland and form an instant connection before marrying and having children. Alas, as fate would have it, both their children die in a car accident, and 4 years later, so does our protagonist, Chris. The film is a bittersweet story of death and reconciliation, a dramatic journey a man undertakes in the afterlife, chasing after the love he lost when living, with an abstract undertone throughout as though it explains something that eludes the human mind. be it manifestations of faint love undampened through distance or looking for the absent in the present, knowing it to be absent. Robin Williams plays the character of a grief-stricken man who puts on a facade of strength, and Annabella Sciorra, a woman in mental chaos. Both empower the movie through their great acting. An expression of the dead's mind, Chris's afterlife is a surreal vision rendered as a literal painting through a collection of paint, with cinematography and special effects presenting an on-screen experience that few others could replicate, even portraying hell as a tweaked version of the Mad Max movies. Sometimes when you win, you lose, and as the colors of life fade into the afterlife, if you believe something is real, how fake can it truly be? As imagination sings its dreamy tune, a deaf ear vies to hear it blossom. The limbless can steal a limb, and in this city, the dreamless can clutch at fancy. But do glasses make the blind see? Or if a fallen leaf comes alive once watered? Crank is an old mad scientist who has a lot of things but doesn't have the capacity to dream. Stuck in his resolve to experience childlike imagination, hoping that it will slow his aging process, he kidnaps children to steal their dreams. Eventually, one of the children he takes is the little brother of a carnival strongman named One, who sets out to rescue him with the help of a young girl named Miette. From the minds of Marc Caro and Jean-Pierre Jeunet, The City of Lost Children is a science fiction fantasy film set in a dark steampunk world, with a multitude of weird characters and a complex narrative, very similar to a Terry Gilliam film. There's a lot going on in the movie at any given time. The story is like a dream with viewers starting out clueless, and though it doesn't always make sense, all storylines come together nicely by the end. The world of the film is beautifully imaginative with surreal visuals that complement the dream-stealing narrative. Perhaps imagination is the lifeblood of thought, for although in the hard lines of reality you can find reason, it is only in fantasy that you can do the unreasonable. In the grimness of happiness, a touch of passion sets aflame the cage of delight that traps Pleasantville. As two worlds collide, we see singular verity set to waste 1,000 fallacies. David, a traditional high school geek obsessed with the black and white TV show Pleasantville, experiences a bizarre event during a trivia marathon when a mysterious repairman arrives with a strange remote to replace one David and his sister broke, and with a single click, they are transported into the Pleasantville universe as their modern ideas disrupt its perfect simplicity.
Oh, Skip, you can pin me anytime you want to. Or maybe I should just pin you.
That's silly, Mary Sue. How could you possibly pin me?
Under the dazzling direction of Gary Ross, Pleasantville is an open challenge to the utopian vision. It shows us the imperfections of perfection, constructing a bizarre town that suppresses everything it deems unpleasant, through unpleasant means at that.
Roy Campbell's got a blue front door.
It becomes clear that utopia is hypocrisy.
Where's my dinner?
For to attain it, everything non-utopic would have to cease existence. As Pleasantville is a black and white show, much of the movie after the teleportation is spent in black and white, until Pleasantville gradually gains color, a crucial symbolism signifying its transition to a freer lifestyle. The visuals are as important as the story in this sense. In fact, the visuals tell a story of their own. The film is a collection of genres that hinge on the fantasy element of interworld teleportation. Much like an isekai anime, showcasing themes that range from sweet romance to comedy and drama, all while humorously exposing the darker, more ironic flaws of a seemingly perfect world.
6. No bed frame or mattress may be sold measuring more than 38 inches wide.
The actors did a great job emulating their characters, with Tobey Maguire and Reese Witherspoon leading the cast, supported by William H. Macy, Jeff Daniels, Joan Allen, Jane Kaczmarek, and Paul Walker. What is sweet existence if not a dangerous promise? Should you really exceed your expectations or lower the expectation to exceed? For everything comes at a price, and the price of your dream might be a two-faced nightmare.
Elephants cool themselves in the lakes. The warm wind blows through the fields, and the spirits ride it, singing as they look down on us, and their voices echo through the mountains. And the sky is all different colors, like a peacock's tail.
In the realities of imagination, there are no limits. In the sweet nothings of fantasy, a store of treasure awaits discovery as a young girl's imagination lights up the darkest corners of her world in A Little Princess. Sarah is a young girl living an exotic life in India with her widowed father. As World War I begins, her father, a British captain, is called to serve in the military. She is left to live in a boarding school in America, under the wing of the spiteful Miss Minchin, who owns the school. When news arrives that her father will never return, leaving her with no money, Miss Minchin removes Sarah from her classes and makes her a servant.
You're not a princess any longer.
Another charming adaptation of Frances Hodgson Burnett's work, directed masterfully by Alfonso Cuarón, this film follows the life of a young girl in adversity and how she finds solace in her dreamlike reveries and true friends. It showcases a great performance by the young girl who plays Sarah and elevates it through the use of assistive but not overpowering magical realism that allows the viewers to feel the little girl's fantasies. In that sense, it is a nod to magical realism without magic, a strange existence that borders the gray areas of reality. Through the window of the little princess, and every girl is a princess according to the movie, the viewers are taught to see beyond opaque lines and rigid existences. The characters are simple but complex. Every other person in the movie is psychologically unique, and the viewers can empathize with at least one from the lot. We have Liesl Matthews as Sarah, Liam Cunningham as Captain Crew, Eleanor Braun as Miss Minchin, and Vanessa Lee Chester as Becky. As our little princess uses her imagination to color the lives of those around her, it becomes apparent that the creations of her mind aren't limited to it. Thank you for watching, and for more underrated movies, be sure to subscribe to Underrated Cinema.